Where have you been? It's 30 minutes past curfew. You will not speak to me that way. I am your teacher.
Immanuel Kant wrote Groundwork of the Metaphysics of Morals in 1785, roughly 100 years before Mill and Jeremy Bentham wrote about utilitarianism. But in his book, he criticizes the very old view that morality is about making people happier and that it is about reducing suffering. He thinks this is incorrect.
You lied to me. You said you were at the library when you were out there doing God knows what with God knows who.
Okay, in introducing the ethical theory of Immanuel Kant, we will, to help you distinguish when I'm talking about him instead of Mill, usually refer to freedom as autonomy. In this video, also, I'm going to try to really explain what Kant is claiming about morality. That means, strangely enough, I won't be using the two formulations of the categorical imperative, at least in this video, as much as you might think. What I'm doing, I hope, is taking you on a useful shortcut that will, I believe, really help you understand Kant's view. For Kant, the autonomy, freedom, that is most important is a human being's ability to choose between what is morally right and what satisfies one's own inclinations. Let's look at some examples. Here, we'll start with the first one. Well, of course, that's dumb. Okay, this is not Kant's own, this is one I made up. You're going to a movie theater to see a movie you have really been dying to see. This is a premiere screening, and you are going to get a mini movie poster and some other neat swag. But as you're driving to the theater, you see a bloody child in the road. Your choice: you can ignore the child and go on to your movie, or stop and help the bloody child, which is going to take a lot of time. Trust me, I learned that the hard way. It's not like you're not just going to give them a band-aid and go on your way. You're going to have to do this, do that. So you're going to miss your movie. Why, for Kant, is it morally right to help the child? Kant does not think it is morally right to help him because it will reduce his pain or make him less scared or it will make him happier. Kant thinks it is morally right to help him ultimately because it will promote his autonomy, his freedom to choose between options. Having a big head gash prevents you from using your choice making ability. You're going to be focused on the big head gash, and so you're not going to be thinking about the choices you make. Morality is not about trying to reduce pain and suffering. It is about trying to repair oneself and others so that we can get our freedom of choice back, so that we can freely choose, hopefully, Kant thinks, to do the right thing in other circumstances. And doing the right thing is always promoting human freedom. No, Kant's principles are not to make others happy. They are the universal law principle and the humanity as ends principle. We follow these not to make others happy, but to respect and further the human autonomy, our ability to make our own choices. So, I don't know, that little fortune cookie at the bottom there is a little confusing, but what it means to say is that we follow these not to make others happy, but to respect and further human autonomy, our ability and the ability of others to make their own choices and for us to make our own choices. Here's one of Kant's own examples: the lying promise. You're considering making a promise in order to borrow money from rich, even though you secretly know you will never be able to repay it. Kant's real problem with this is when you lie to others, you, by misleading them, impair their ability to make free choices, their autonomy. Rich can't use his choice making faculty correctly because you have screwed it up by feeding it false information. Example of suicide, another of Kant's own examples. A man is thinking of killing himself because he's in great pain. He wants to use physician assisted suicide. The real problem for this, for Kant: if you suicide out, it gets rid of your physical or mental pain. But death eliminates your autonomy, your ability to make free choices. And of course, the most important free choice you make in life is that of choosing between promoting freedom and promoting one's own desires. Here's another example Kant gives: letting talents rust. You win the lottery, so you're considering quitting school and just enjoying life. Why bother to develop any abilities to do things when you're rich? You've got more money than you know what to do with. Kant's real problem with this: those abilities you would have gained in school, or however you learned to do things, could have been used to promote human autonomy, freedom. Suppose Cindy has a broken cell phone. If you knew how to repair it for her, she would be able to stop focusing on it and thereby reactivate her choice making ability. So if you knew how to repair it, you could re enable her to use her autonomy again. You could promote her autonomy.
It's not so much that I'm mad at you, it's just I'm very disappointed.
Both Mill and Kant think it is right to promote human freedom, but Mill thinks you should promote freedom because freer societies are happier societies. That is, you should promote freedom because it will produce happiness and reduce suffering to do so. Kant thinks it's the other way around. Instead, you should promote human freedom in yourself and others instead of promoting happiness. I'm thinking of something else. Sorry, I'll tell you in a minute. What is morally important is in humans is not their happiness, sadness, pleasures, or pains. It's their ability to choose, their autonomy. So you should promote human freedom even when it produces less happiness. And what I was going to say, it really is the opposite of the first one. Mill thinks you should promote freedom to get happiness. Uh, Kant, whenever he thinks you should promote happiness, it would only be because happier people would have more freedom. But there are plenty of cases where he doesn't think you should promote happiness at all. Here's the final one. Okay, this is Kant's most radical example of ignoring human happiness and promoting free choice. It's his famous case of the axe murderer. Yes, he gave it. An axe murderer breaks in and asks you if Kate is in your apartment. She is. She is hiding behind the couch. Should you lie to him or tell him the truth? Kant's answer: you should be honest. You should tell him the truth. Being honest promotes human autonomy by letting the axe murderer choose between doing the right thing and giving in to his rage, his inclinations. Lying only satisfies your inclination to reduce pain and suffering.
Well, you are not too old to be grounded.